Hey, thank you for joining us. Okay. Hey, Roberta. Okay. All right, so I just added you. Hey,
Hey.
can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear. I'm gonna turn it up a little bit.
Okay.
Is it still? Can you hear me?
Yep. Oh, okay, almost twinsies.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right, I can hear you too. Hey, I see
Hey,
people coming
everybody.
through. Hey.
Okay. Thank you so much. I think this is so great. We finally get a chance to work together. Are you there, Roberta? You're like frozen. She said I hopped on so quick. Thank you. I think I lost, of course, of course. I think I lost Roberta. Hopefully she can come back. Yeah, we definitely want to make sure we get you all prepared with these essays, and sometimes just getting these last minute tips really help. Hey, Willow, Lisa. Hello. No. Hey, always legal too. Thank you all for joining us. Just waiting on Roberta to come back. We can get started. Okay, Roberta said she requested. Okay, Roberta, I just added you. Says it's
Okay.
connecting. Okay.
All right, I'm back. My phone randomly turned off. It was really
Oh
weird.
no. See, it's like
Yeah,
when we supposed to be here. It's always a
exactly.
hater. Even the
This phone
phone
didn't go.
hating hard.
It
It's
was.
yeah. But it's Esquire season. So ain't nobody
Okay.
got time for that. We gonna get
Okay.
these people. These gonna be some attorneys. Just wait. Just wait.
Yes. Yes.
All right.
Hey,
So
everybody.
hey, thank you all so much for coming through. It's 5 o'clock, so let's be timely and go ahead and start. I'll just go ahead and introduce myself first. My name is Caroline Vickers. I am the owner of Bar Prep Champions, where I try to create fun ways of helping you with the bar exam, academic and mindset wise. And I have my fellow Gator alum and legal sister, Roberta, here, and she's going to introduce herself.
Hey, yes. So my name is Roberta Roberts, and I am a Christian woman, lawyer, life and bar exam success coach. And
Come
I'm
on.
also founder, thank you.
Yeah.
And I'm also founder of Grace for the Grind Career Mastermind, which is an online community and mobile app for Christian women, lawyers, law students, and pre-law students. And so, yes, I too am also all about getting our people out here and
Come
being
on.
licensed attorneys, because it isn't just about the academics. It is also about the mindset and the belief that you can actually do it. And
Yes.
from my perspective in particular, having that strength through Jesus Christ. Amen. So
Glory.
we talking about practical and spiritual as well, but this one we're
Yes.
focusing on the writing.
Yes. But you know what? You need that mindset and that spirituality to come in to help you as well, because the reason why I wanted to do this and ask you to come along is because people lack confidence in their writing and they're intimidated. So it's like, okay, let's focus on, why are you intimidated by essays? Why do you feel like you don't have the faith to do it? Because it's lack of faith sometimes, and it's having that confidence and knowing that even if you miss an issue or your writing is not as good as you want it, it can improve. It doesn't define who you are. Forever.
Yes, that's important too. The self-worth stuff.
Yes, you got to believe it and stop looking at these people's materials that's written from a person who's not taking the bar exam, not under stress, and 8 pages. Who writing 8 pages on the bar exam?
Right.
Nobody. No. All right, y'all. I'm gonna get off my soapbox. Okay. So we told you we are going to give you 3 tips to help you instantly improve your bar exam essays. And when we say essays, it's not just the MEE or the state essays. This is also writing for the MPT. So any writing that you're doing for the bar exam, these tips are going to be applicable. Okay. Is that right, Roberto?
Yes, that is right.
Cool. All right. So what's number 1? What are we talking about first? What's the first tip?
Okay, so the first thing that we are talking about is having on-point organization.
Come on.
So we have a lot of things to say about. I know we said 3 things. It is 3, but we gonna have to give you some bullet points under the
under each one. We're gonna group it for you.
Exactly. Which is an example of organization.
Yes.
So I can keep going into it, or if you want to hop on first and then I'll come back. What do you want to do, Caroline?
Okay. So the first thing we want to talk about is IRAC and CRAC. People ask me all the time which one to do. My preference is CRAC, but I do know that there are jurisdictions that prefer IRAC. But when you look at those released model answers or former essays that are posted, you can look at the different formats and see for yourself. For instance, when you go to the NCBE website and you look at the format for the MEE, that's CRAC. And most of my people who I coach, they they're taking the MEE. So I want them to mirror and organize their essays the way that their bar graders is seeing the answers. I think that's really helpful.
Yeah. And also, I know a lot of y'all gonna be like, I already know this. I already know I'm supposed to do somebody said Texas prefers CRAC. Okay.
Yeah.
So a lot of people can be like, I already heard about IRAC, I already heard about CRAC. Like, that's not new. I want tips that are like new to help me. But like, it cannot be stressed enough that proper organization is the foundation for you to be able to have an essay that gets the most points.
Right.
Because just as Caroline mentioned, setting up your essay or your MPT answer, in a format that the graders are used to seeing, then that way they're less likely to miss you know, what you're saying. Because otherwise, if you just have it in a totally different format, they're gonna be like, this doesn't even make logical sense. I don't know where they're going with this. I don't have time to sit here and try to figure out what they're doing. They're just gonna move on. So even though it's something as simple as use this formula, we really do mean make sure you use this formula, make sure you have that organization. And then also not only just, you know, using IRAC or crack, but also making sure that you use headers.
Yes.
You know, we kind of talked about we talked about, you know,
And
headers, subpoints, all of that.
Yeah.
Yes, headers and subheaders. And another thing, even though again it's one of those tips that seems really easy, like, oh, okay, I know this, but a lot of times you know it, but you just writing and you just have a big block of text and you're like, oh, I'm done. And the person who has to actually read it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like it's hard to someone said if we use Creas, is Creas the same as Creac? I guess the
I think
D
it
is supposed
is.
to
Yeah,
be
they meant to put a C. It's Creac.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any
fine.
variation. Yeah, that's because the E is like explanation of the rule. So it's pretty much the same. So
yeah, but it depends. It depends. But you know, don't be writing a treatise on the bar exam. You need to be concise. Like, see, and that's the thing. That's where the mindset comes in and the practice, because some people, let's say for instance, it's a topic that's really challenging, like secure transactions, right? And this is the law that they know for secure transactions. So they are putting all this law, talking about explaining, but the entire thing is not applicable. But you're just regurgitating that rule because you're so insecure and you're scared. You're like, all right, this is what I know. I'm just going to put this on there. And it does not help you because then you have so much text. It's not clear that you are actually applying this rule in the analysis. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
At least to me. I mean, let us know in the chat if it makes sense. But also going to that too, that also falls under organization, because you want to make sure that what you are addressing, you know, what you're addressing under each of your headers is the question that you're actually being asked, not just you just saying, you know, what you want to. So if someone asked any guidance on whether to underline your subheadings.
I mean, you can.
I think it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. There are different ways to divide and organize. For instance, you can do the thing is, the whole point of a organization and headers is a transition, right? So you can use all caps, you can underline, or you can simply just bold the text, and it's a visible moniker that, okay, we switching up, we doing something different here. So I mean, it's fine to underline.
Yeah. So people are saying in the chat, yes, it does. It does make sense what we were just saying. And I'll throw out another quick story about organization. I was reading over someone's essay, and it was just like a big block of text. It didn't separate out the paragraphs per issue. You know, give some space, one issue per paragraph.
White space is important.
Yes, it is, because it really helps the person, because this is the example I'm getting to. They had talked about something, but I just didn't even see it because it was just buried under the. So I'm like, that's how a grader could miss it. If I, you know, was just glancing over it and didn't see it, someone else could miss it too, which is why it is so important that even just these simple things of using spaces, give a little, you know, Roman numeral, a bold for a header, underline, whatever it is.
Got me.
Give that visual
sis. I don't know what you wrote.
Separation.
Tell me what you're doing. Just let me know. All right, we're getting ready to talk about duty. All right, we moving on to breach. All right, girl, get ready for this causation. All right, and now we're going to wrap it up with damages. You know, tell me, guide me, let me know that you have everything on here.
Use the transitions. Another thing in organization.
Come on now.
Give us the transition. Tell us first, you know, blah, blah, blah. Second, blah, blah. Third, blah, blah, blah. So, for example, like, say you're talking about something that has 4 elements. Don't just write, you know, you must prove blah, 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 blah. Go ahead and give me one little parentheses after first element. 2, three, like
Yeah.
that helps too because the reader knows, all right, so now I know what you're about to cover.
Yes. Yes. Guide me. Yes. Yes. All right. All right. Do you think we
Okay.
cover everything with organization? I think we may have a few
We have some
questions.
comments. I'm trying to scroll up to see some.
Yeah. Girl, my finger big. I want to cut off.
Is
Okay.
there
Is
a
there?
page? Okay, go
Okay.
ahead.
You got it. Go ahead.
Okay, is there a page and or word count restriction per essay on the MBE? I guess MEE.
Yeah.
Um,
In your essay, unless your
or
jurisdiction
NPC.
tells you that, I don't think so.
And you're probably not going to hit it. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe if you just wrote so much, but most likely you
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
not. But yeah, I don't know of a general UBE limitation on essays or
Yeah.
MPT.
All right.
Okay.
Sorry if we use crack and are nervous about saying the rule first. Any tips for that? Well, the rule is always supposed to come first, even if you use IRAC, right?
Mm-hmm.
Issue, rule, analysis, and conclusion. So I don't. Um,
Do you mean like if you're nervous about, or maybe they mean nervous about saying the conclusion first instead of the rule? I don't know.
well,
Whoever wrote that, let us know.
yeah, clarify. And when we say crack, right, that first C, what you're really doing is answering the question: is this negligence? Yes or no? Like you straight up answering the question. And the reason I like that is because sometimes you are writing so much you never even answer the question, and you don't want that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, somebody put conclusion first. Okay.
Yeah, the conclusion, the first C is always answering the question. Somebody says, I'm usually hitting around 1 to 2 pages on practice MPTs. Is that too short? No, every MPT is different. What do you think, Roberta?
I agree. It depends. It depends on the MPT. Like it depends on what the task is, and it depends on what you're writing.
Yeah, yeah,
Because I mean, if you're just like, it's possible you can do it, concisely. But
yeah.
again, it does depend on what the problem is. But 2 pages, that's like,
That's not bad. I mean, what if you have like a client letter? It may be a page or two. If you have like a memo or a brief, that may be longer. I could see that going long, depending on how many points you have to hit, right?
yeah, yeah. I would say it really depends on what the task is and what you're saying. So that's kind of a more like a somebody would need to like look at that to
Okay.
let you know like what you're right. Okay, somebody said. I was told don't put the conclusion first if you aren't sure, because if it's wrong, you don't want it to be the first thing they see. That's why I prefer to do IRAC. That's what someone else said.
Well, if you outline before you write, you should know the answer. Like that's the whole point. Like you have to make sure that you outline. Your outline is helping you determine what your answer is going to be. You're organizing your thoughts. That's actually a common question I get for the people that I coach. I don't know about you, Roberta, but you should know the answer before you start writing. And yeah, like that's why you need to outline. And that's another thing. Like people, they're so worried about the time, they just start writing. You need to be outlining, because your outline, you're writing out your rules, you're writing out the facts that go with each rule, and you should be able to see, oh, this don't bode well right here. This don't go, or this doesn't work. So you should know the answer before you start writing. You don't
Yeah, and
start writing to find out, oh, I don't know. You starting off wrong.
yeah, and I would say too, I mean, you can go with your comfort level. Like for example, somebody said specifically Texas prefers crack. So Texas,
Mhm.
if you know your jurisdiction prefers crack, then you should do crack. But
Yeah.
if not, then and if you're like just so nervous about CRAC because you're like, oh, but what if my conclusion is wrong? I don't want to
Right.
lead off with the wrong answer because then the grader's gonna be like, it's just wrong. Oh, then okay, then it's fine. Use IRAC then. But just make sure you're using one of these, proven formulas, that you usually learn
Yeah.
in law school or in your
Be
bar prep
consistent.
company class.
Yeah. Yeah. Make
Yeah.
sure
So
you're
if
consistent.
you yeah, so if you don't have to use crack and you're worried about the conclusion, then fine, use IRAC.
Hmm.
But also, like what Caroline was saying, I mean, you're gonna have to have a conclusion. Like either way, you're gonna you're gonna have a
Yeah.
conclusion somewhere.
Yeah.
And sometimes even if it's wrong, depending on how good your analysis is, you could
Hmm.
still do well enough on that essay because most of the points are gonna come from, the analysis portion, which we'll get
Exactly.
to a little later in this
Hmm.
live. But like you could have like a halfway right rule statement and like a
Hmm.
wrong conclusion, but a really good analysis, and you'll
Hmm.
get points for that. Are you gonna get all the
Yeah.
points? No, but are you gonna get like a bunch of, well, yeah, you'll still get some
Hmm.
points. You can still pass.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. You don't get a
I hope
zero
that
just
helps
because you have
somebody.
the wrong answer. And when you look at some of these published answers from these
Mm-hmm.
jurisdictions, a lot of them are wrong. They're
Yep,
wrong, but that
they
analysis
are.
was, I mean, wrong, but they were confident in being wrong. And they had that analysis and they
Mm-hmm.
supported it, and that's how you get your points.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So let us know if that is helpful, what we just said about that. Okay, so we got a bunch more
Yeah, we got to
questions.
move.
You want to do those or move on to the next section,
I think they're
Carolyn?
similar. We
Okay,
got,
for remote exam, should I just place the rules and a simple connection if fact due to not being to use to the T format suggested by Barbary? I don't know what the T format is.
yeah, I don't
Is
know
the
what
T
that
like
is.
thesis? Like they tell you, is that what it is? Tell us what the T format from Barbary is. Place the rules in a simple connection. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
not sure
I think one
what that
thing they
means.
may be hitting on is because it is a remote exam and for the written portion, you can outline, like make sure you have your rule, you can type it out and then put the facts, a few facts, jotting them down as you're writing. You want to outline in your document and then connect your analysis. Maybe that's what they're talking about. I don't know.
Maybe that's it. Let us know if that's who you were talking about.
Oh no, what I did. I did. Okay, you're back. Okay, let's
There's some more. Um, any tips on organizing notes, especially for secure transactions where you have to go through a bunch of elements?
I would say a paragraph for each element. Just keep it organized.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Mm-hmm. I agree. If it's a bunch of elements, that honestly means that it's like an opportunity for you to get a bunch of points.
Exactly.
You know what the elements are, just make sure that you have analysis for each of those elements. So
Yeah.
in order to make sure you do, number them 1, 2, 3, 4, so you make sure
Hmm.
you got all five or whatever number of elements it is, and make sure that you
Hmm.
have something under each of your headers that correspond to each of those elements.
Exactly. You can, like we just said, using those headers, those subheaders. You can have that in all caps, underline, or you can just bold it. Here we're talking about attachment. Or here, we're talking about goods. Here we're talking about, um, uh, default. Things like that. So you can definitely use that to organize it, and they can see, oh, okay, and they explained every single element.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so here's another one. If we get two different issues to discuss in one essay, should we write two different essay answers, or could we separate each issue by paragraph?
I would say look at how the question is formatted. A lot of times, if it's two questions like that in one, there may be like a or B, a one or two, or numeral, a Roman numeral like I, one or two like that. And you want to mimic whatever format they have for that question in order, arrange your writing that way. Does that make sense?
I think so.
Yeah, just mirror your writing organization to how the question is being asked.
Yeah, because
Mhm.
also if it's one essay, it won't necessarily be like that separate. Like it's still going to be in the same.
Yeah, space. Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I mean.
yeah,
It's still like
yeah,
it's still in the same space. So
yeah. So I guess
yeah.
you could do like two cracks or two IRACs or whatever your organization is, but make sure it's clear that each you're answering them separately.
Yes.
Yeah, just make
Yes. Yes.
sure it's clear.
Okay, so yeah, we got a lot of activity in here.
All right, we got to make sure that let's move on to grammar. We'll catch that, and some of this will it'll catch that too. What
Yes,
we're
we'll come
discussing.
back around.
So our second major tip that we are discussing is grammar.
And tone and mechanics, grammar, mechanics, tone,
Yes,
all of
yes,
that kind of
yes,
stuff.
exactly. Um, when you are writing for the bar exam, keep in mind that you are writing this exam. An attorney is reading this. So a bar exam is you writing to an attorney, proving to them that you deserve to be an attorney as well, not just a person that has a JD, right? So how are you writing? You have to use the language. You have to use those words like, negligence. You don't say I asked the court. I filed a motion, because that's how attorneys talk. That's what we do. We file motions. We don't ask the court nothing, right? Things like that.
Yeah,
You
mirror the
can't be like
language.
talking to your mom, talking to your friend, like all that casual language. I use it a lot. Those casual language, like you don't have to overdo it, but use the language of that subject area to help you. If you're talking about negligence, reasonable. Was it reasonable? An ordinary person, don't just like, a normal person would do this. No, would a
Yep.
reasonable person do this? Like, make sure you are using the language, and that is going to help you. All right, Roberta,
Yeah.
you know me. Go on, girl.
So yes to everything Caroline said, and also something else to say is there's a balance between trying to be like too lawyerly and you got like heretofore,
Yeah.
and like too much of that. You don't want to be on that end. And then when
Yeah.
you're on the other end of the spectrum with like it's just like a little like too basic, like you're like the defendant, got instead of saying like they received or obtained or something else like a little more sophisticated. Like
Right.
usually you're going to want to use the least amount of words possible so that you can keep it, clear, simple, concise. But sometimes, you got to like make it a little more sophisticated,
Elevate it.
Exactly. You gotta like elevate it a little more.
Right.
And you have to especially keep that in mind when you're like working with like when you're first doing it, you don't want to keep tripping yourself up like, oh no, I gotta make it sound more sophisticated right now, right now. Go ahead, like write it out, just get it out, and then just make sure you go back, and then now that you're in edit mode, because our brains work differently when we're in I'm trying to write and get this down mode, and okay, I'm just reviewing and making a few quick changes mode. Then you can go back and make sure that your stuff is a little more elevated. You're not just like, oh, they got this, obtained, received. Something that sounds a little more legally or scholarly, and then also like what Caroline was saying, making sure you use the actual language of the subject that you're writing about.
Yeah. Somebody said, is listing the questions they request us to answer as our issue for the most part wrong? I know sometimes we should look deeper, but sometimes it literally is a question they want us to answer. No, I don't think anything's wrong with that.
Use it.
Yeah, definitely. The issue is related to the question being asked to you. So I don't think anything is wrong with that.
Yeah, because they gave it to you. Like if they're like the issue, like figure out what this means, like then that's what that's what you should definitely like. And of course you'll still look deeper, but the looking deeper will come from when you do your analysis, which we'll talk about a little more. But so you look deeper, but like yes, you can use that as your heading.
Okay, Sassy Curl Bay says, is it okay to shorten / abbreviate party and case names and essays? First of all, you shouldn't be using case names and essays. You can use case names on the MPT, but do not cite cases on the MEE or a state essay. Like never, ever, ever, ever. Don't do that. It is okay to shorthand abbreviate a party name, but I would like make sure you at least spell it out the first time, and then in parentheses, let's say it's Sarah. So you can do Sarah, spell it out, and then in parentheses S, so they know going forward, S stands for Sarah. What do you think, Roberta?
Yeah, I think you can do that. And also in terms of cases, I mean, the only time you'd really be citing a case for real in an essay is if it's like Terry, like a Terry stop. It's a criminal
Yeah,
law
something
essay or
like
something like
that.
that.
Yeah,
Like, where like the case name is the law, is
is
the
the law.
standard.
Yeah, but you talking about any other case for real? Like, no, don't do that, because what if your case is wrong? Right? Like, you don't want to do that. Like, if you're gonna flex, you need to flex in your analysis and make sure you actually applying the facts to the rule. Don't be citing cases on the bar exam. Not trying to be
Yeah,
rude, but I'm just keeping it 100 with you. Don't be citing them cases.
yeah. And MPT, same as in real life. Like, you give it the
Hmm.
first full name at the first reference, and then after that, you short sighted.
Yeah.
So,
We have the Pearl paradigm says, if something is an issue, it should be addressed accordingly. Yes, ma'am. Always look to the call of the question to determine what you will actually have to answer. Yep.
yes.
X/T, I don't know what that means. The facts loaded with a simple answer. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. All right. Yeah, okay. So yes. Tion8417 says flexing your analysis. Yes, ma'am. So,
Hmm.
child, she just that's a good little segue to my favorite part, my favorite tip. The last one. We are going to talk about the analysis.
Yes, yes,
The
yes.
analysis is the third tip. The analysis is where you get all your points. Like, people like to spend a lot of time humming and hawing about the rule statement. Your rule statement can be wrong and you still do decent on your analysis. Now, you want to make sure it's right, okay? Yes, you want to do that, but the analysis is where it's at. The formula I like to tell my people to use is law plus because plus facts. Now, why do I say that? Because every sentence in your analysis, you need to be applying the rule from your rule statement to the pertinent facts. That's what you need to be doing. If you are regurgitating facts, you look at your sentence and it's all facts, that is not an analysis. Why? Because analysis is you are applying the law to facts. So don't restate facts. You have to explain why your rule statement, whatever it is, whatever you come up with, despite how you feel about it, you need to be
Hmm.
applying that to the facts. Okay? Application is key. All right, I'm
Yes.
gonna stop. Roberta, go. Go. Girl, I just feel all day. Woo, child. Go ahead.
No, but that's good. And the Pearl Paradigm is saying some good stuff here too. Oh, cool girl. Thanks. She said we dropping jewels. Oh,
Oh, yay.
yay. Yeah, because I saw her. She was saying some good stuff in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
Rules should touch the buzz slash keywords, but application and the analysis is what gains the point.
It does.
Um, Yes, 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 yes. And so a lot of times I think people kind of don't realize what exactly analysis is
Mm-hmm.
per se.
Yeah.
So, you're gonna wanna if you're still kind of unclear about how your analysis is supposed to be, real thorough and beefed up, like you're just not sure how it's supposed to be, make sure you look at model essay answers,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
or like the rule sheets, whatever, the answers,
Yeah.
so that
Yeah.
you can really see and really pay attention to how an analysis is done. Because, like Caroline said, it's not just regurgitating facts. Like, you literally have to, you'll like match up
Mm-hmm.
the law to the facts that you have in your problem, and
Mm-hmm.
you're always going to want to keep referring to the law. And then, like we learned in law school about analogizing and distinguishing. And like
Mm-hmm.
you'd end up doing that on the MPT, because the essays, you just going off with your rule statement. But, the
Yeah.
MPT, when they giving you different cases and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
like in the analysis is really, especially on the MPT, is really where you're going to shine, because
Right.
you got different cases to talk about. Was it similar to this one? And because it's similar to that, the court here should do what the court there did. Or, oh no, it's not similar to this other case, so the court
Mm-hmm.
here doesn't have to do what the court over there did. Like, like that's the kind of stuff that you do in your analysis. And that's why we say it's a time for you to shine.
Right.
because that's where you get to be like, I don't only just can just say what the law is and say what the facts were. I
Hmm.
can show you why they're relevant. Like I can tell you why these particular facts are relevant to
Yes.
this law and like why this law relates to these facts. Like
Exactly. The law that
really.
you came up with. Do not create an additional rule or law that is not in your rule statement. That's part of being organized. Okay. Your analysis, you are applying the rule from whatever you use. If you use crack, if you use CREAC, if you use IRAC, your rule statement. Because I can't tell you how many times I've seen, I'm like, where'd that come from? That wasn't in the rule, and that's part of separating your rule and organizing it. First we're going to talk about duty. Then we're going to talk about breach. If that's what you put in your rule statement, that needs to be in that order. That's another thing. Stay organized.
In that
In
order.
that order, whatever order that you use in your rule statement, that needs to be the order that you use in your analysis. It just helps everything to flow, and it's easier to read. So speaking of easier to read, in this, what we're going to talk about is do not use precatory language in your analysis. What is precatory language? When you write a clause, when you write stuff that you don't need, when you have all that extra stuff, like your sentence got an introduction. What are some examples, Caroline? I'm glad you asked. Being that, as a result, in light of the fact, with that being said, all of them have commas after them at the beginning of the sentence, which I hate. No precatory language. Say it with your chest. You need to be starting your sentence off with the subject. I shouldn't read your sentence and what you're talking about is at the end or the middle of your sentence and you have 85 commas because you should have started off telling me about your subject first. Okay, we don't need you to like warm me up and get my mind ready for whatever you got to say with precatory language. Just say it. As a result, Sarah. No, Sarah. What Sarah did? Sarah hit Jane. Boom. Sarah is the subject. Hit Jane. Verb. Subject. Verb. Subject. Verb. That's what we want to do. All right, my bad.
Yeah. I know you're very passionate about that.
Child,
You're very passionate
yeah,
about this
somebody got
subject
due to
verb
the
agreement.
fact. Yeah, I hate that. Do not put due to the fact. No, what is the fact? You know due to the fact. And when you start with due to the fact, you're actually starting off with the verb, not the subject. Right? And you want to start with your subject first. Let me know who or what you are talking about first. Don't tell me what it or she or he did. And that's another thing. And I'm going to let you talk, Roberta. My bad, girl. But you know how.
Oh, you're fine.
Cut the pronouns. No pronouns. She, he, it, this. That's not clear. You don't want your grader to have to guess what you're talking about. And what if you use he and your problem is talking about Bob and John? Which one is he? Right? So be very clear because if your grader has to guess who you're talking about or what you're talking about, they're not going to give you the points because they're not going to guess. Like it needs to be clear. So don't say she, say Jane. Don't say he, say Ray, whatever. Don't say it, say box, shoe. Like say it with your chest. Say what you're talking about. It and this. No, this is why. No, tell me what is this? What is this? What is that action? What is the subject? What are you talking about? Don't make me guess. Don't you want to get all your points. You need to be in your bag when it comes to this bar exam.
Yeah, you want to make sure you're really, really clear. So that way, something that a lot of times I tell my clients, like, you can't always assume that the bar exam grader knows what you know.
Right.
Like, like you have to show them, because sometimes, I see something, I'm like, oh, okay, I see what you mean. Like, okay, I assume you meant you were talking about this person and that. But like the bar exam grader may not give you that benefit of the doubt. So that's why I just on the front end, everything that Carolina said, like, legit. And it seems kind of like, okay, all right, let me say it's this but like
Mhm.
legit, make sure you do that stuff because it's
Yeah.
these simple things. That's why
Hmm.
we said it was 3 ways instantly.
Yeah,
We told you a bunch
exactly.
of ways, but they're all
Hmm.
under the greater umbrellas of
Yeah.
organization,
Hmm.
grammar, tone, mechanics, and analysis. So those are the 3 ways, y'all. But we
Yeah.
those are our headers, and we just gave y'all a bunch of subheaders, a bunch of
Yeah. Yeah.
subheadings.
Yeah, but it's just
Okay.
so we can help you keep in mind, how to implement this stuff. We want to keep it simple. This is the last week. You have last few days coming up. But the thing is you have time. You have time. Start implementing these things. Have whatever your bar coach or your bar prep company submit those essays. You want to do it now because toward the closer you get to the exam, the longer the time it takes for people to get a response back or review, because
Hmm.
everybody waiting until the last minute to really start submitting those essays. And you want to get that feedback. You want to read those model answers. You want to read that.
Hmm.
And if you are having a problem with how to apply a particular element, look at those answers. Okay, how did they apply duty? How did they apply causation? That's the biggest thing, because in causation, people don't apply both actual and proximate cause. Boo, you need both. Okay, you need both for causation, or guess what? You ain't did your job. Okay, so you got to have both.
Hmm. Okay. So I guess that's pretty much. Do you have anything else to add before we go back into questions? I saw a bunch of people ask some other
Oh, I talked
questions. We
about
had some from
passive.
earlier. Some
I
from,
didn't say it, but basically what I was talking about earlier, when making sure you're talking about your subject first. That's you want to avoid passive voice. You don't want your verb at the beginning of your sentence. So that's avoiding passive voice. All right, so
hmm.
we can start taking some more questions.
Okay. So I'm scrolling back up because I know there was some from the beginning.
Okay, so you start up. I'm gonna start from the bottom. So Ms.
Okay, that sounds
HE
good.
says, "I've heard that if you don't know the rule, you can make something up in an attempt to gain points. Did anyone run into that issue when taking the bar?" Yes, ma'am.
Me, I did
Yes,
it.
yeah. Both times that
I
I
got.
took the bar exam, I forgot the rule for at least one of the essays, but because I had did so many practice exams and reviewed so many release answers, those model answers, I was familiar with the language. So I just regurgitated some law from one of those model answers that the jurisdiction provided, and I gave them that. And I was like, listen, this is all I know, and this is what they're gonna get. And I worked them rules and the facts in it, and I moved on with my life. So yeah, it happened to me both times I took the bar exam. How about you, Roberta?
Um, yeah, it happened to me too. I don't remember if it happened the first time on the first bar exam I took, but the second bar exam I took, 2 out of 6 of the essays, I did not know. I didn't know it. I knew like very basic, and I had purposely didn't really study those subjects that much for real because I was
Yeah.
like, these ain't MBE subjects. This is like secure transactions, agency, blah blah,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. I was like, I'm working full time. I ain't got time to like be studying all. So then two out of 6 of the essays were on stuff I did not really remember. But amen, like Caroline said, and this is what I did too. And this is what it like you legit. This is why it's so important to know what facts are relevant
Yes.
because even if you don't entirely know what the
Mm-hmm.
right rule is, you can look at an essay and be like, well, that fact seems like it would be important for something. And so I
Mm-hmm.
was able to make up rules based off of the facts that were in the problem. So that way my analysis section was still pretty good because I was
Yes.
using all these facts and all this law that I made up. And I was
Yeah.
applying the law I made up to these facts that were
Mm-hmm.
true facts. I ain't make up the facts because you can't just make up facts.
No, don't do
But
that.
exactly. You can't just make up the facts. You gotta
Yeah.
use the facts that are in the actual problem that they give you.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just knew very basic law in those 2 subjects.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to make it work. And I passed with a score high enough to waive into any of the UBE jurisdictions. And
Come
2 out of 6 of
on,
my essays, I didn't even know the law like that. So
yeah. Because I'm telling you, for secure transactions, my approach was I wasn't going to stress over. I didn't know all that, and I didn't take secure transactions in law school. You know what I did? I was like, all I know is what I know, and this is what I know. So my rules, I knew the basics, and I was like, this is what we're going to do. I don't have time for all that extra stuff, and I'm going to work those facts. Like, I'm going to work them out
yes,
for real. And honey, that's what I did. Because,
it
honey,
is
I looked
about
at that
the
question and
fact.
I was like, ooh, well, this all I know. So I put what I knew for the rule and I worked those facts. And that's the whole, you get that confidence from doing that and working on your analysis. Because I'm so good at applying literally law plus because plus facts. My wrong rule, my made up rule, my this is what you gonna get type rule. I paired up pertinent facts with each part of that, and that's what they got. That's on period.
Yep.
That's all I had for them, and that was enough.
Yeah.
Two
And
finals.
because honestly, that's what they're testing you on the most, your
Yeah,
ability to analyze.
yeah.
So,
Even if it was wrong,
yes.
even if it's wrong, it's just like, okay, what's your argument though?
Mm-hmm.
And that's reflected in your
Exactly.
writing. What do you have to say about this?
Exactly.
All right. What else?
Okay. So I'm up at the very top.
Okay.
So okay. The remote doesn't allow for scratch paper. I don't want to miss an element since we can't write down our outline. Any
Type
tips on
your
outlining an
rule.
essay in a remote exam? Because yeah, it's a bunch of questions about remote exam essays. Go ahead.
I'm telling my people, type your rule in the box that you have, and then as you're going, what are the facts that you can jot down the facts next to it, and then once you are ready to type, you just have to put that in a sentence. I mean, if anything,
Exactly.
it's like everything is in one step now. So instead of
If
jotting
anything, it's a little quicker.
yeah, it's quicker, right. So you're going to jot down your elements and then the facts for each element, right? What is the fact for duty? What are the facts, the pertinent facts for breach? You know, if you have battery, intent, what are the facts for intent?
Yeah, so
Things
don't be
like that.
scared. Yeah, don't be scared about not having physical scratch paper because honestly, even like even before when we did have physical scratch paper, like I'm still typing on the
Yeah,
computer because you're gonna submit your answer on the computer anyway. So
yeah.
like just don't let it be an additional thing that scares you. Like, oh no, how do it's fine.
Yeah,
Like
and
it's
practice
fine. We'll
doing
just
that
type it out.
now. The thing is, like, I feel like people are underestimating. Instead of panicking about what you don't have, use the time that you do have, which is now. The exam is not here yet, and type out those facts and say, well, you know what, I'm gonna make myself do it. I was using the paper before, but this is what we got. I'm not gonna let scratch paper get in the way of my Esquire. Like, don't do that.
Yes.
Everybody is panicking about this little scratch paper. Make up your mind that this isn't a barrier for you. Don't create more anxiety. There's already a certain level of anxiety and nervousness that comes with a bar exam. Roll with the punches. Like, when you start practicing, it's not perfect. You don't have the right law in front of you all the time, but sometimes you just got to get in front of the judge and roll with it. And I can't tell you how
Yeah.
many times I've done that, but yeah.
So
Yeah.
that is a lesson for exam and life.
And
And of
life.
course, everybody, we saying all of this out of love, of
Yeah.
course,
But
because
you
we
know,
don't want
I
you
say this
stressed.
because I care. I want you all to pass. I don't want you all
Me too.
fixated on things that don't matter. Like, people be in my inbox all the time, like, but they said this, but they said that. And it's just like, but you need to be studying. But who cares? But don't you know something else is gonna go wrong too? You're gonna panic and freak out and jump around and lose your hair and everything else for every nook and cranny. No. Do not let
Mm-hmm.
this pandemic, you done went through a lot, because
Mm-hmm.
scientifically, you are not supposed to be studying this long for an exam, especially this long and this hard for an exam. Okay, so you needed the break, you needed all this stuff. So you done went through all this hell and high water and valley, mountain, and everything else. Baby, don't let scratch paper take you out the game. Right? You get what I'm Like all this stuff. But he said, but what if my computer break down? Or what if the system crash? What if? It's gonna be you
All
and
the praying
everybody.
people, just pray. Amen.
Just
Like
pray
all the
and let
praying
it go.
people, instead of worrying about all this stuff you can't even
You
control, you better
can't
put it in God's hands. If you
control.
believe in God, put it in God's hands.
Hello. There
Yeah,
will
y'all
be
don't.
tech issues. That doesn't mean your exam is going to be invalidated. They have all this stuff that's like a backup. I've read some areas where they're saying like, you don't need internet connection the whole time. I guess whatever system they have, it may like save it. Keep going. Don't stop. Like, stop worrying about problems that haven't even cropped up yet. And some of
Because
this
it might not
stuff,
even happen.
are problems that, I mean, they're necessary because they're working out the kinks. There has never, ever been a remote bar exam until 2020. So you roll with the punches. They're going to get what they get, and you're going to pass. Make up your mind. I don't care if the person looking at me on the other side of that camera, she set on fire. I'm going to sit here and take my exam. Like, you have to have a made up mind. And that's no, I'm saying that because when I took my first bar exam for Maryland, and I was in the convention center in Baltimore, this girl, child,
You
she
talking about
got
the one who
up.
was coughing?
No, she ran to the bathroom, was throwing up. And, they took all the furniture and stuff out. So you heard that. And I was like, ooh, that sounds horrible. And I just kept on going because I made up my mind, baby. I don't care. I'm not stopping. I think this lady brought her Bible, and the guy who was proctoring, he was like going in on her. You understand? Like, she had like 5 people crowding her. And I just like, ooh, that's awful. And I just kept on typing because you know what, honey, I ain't come to Baltimore to play. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. I came to get that Esquire. Mm-hmm.
All right.
All right.
All right.
What else? What we got going
Okay.
on?
I have definitely seen 2 different selected answers with 2 different answers, so I believe it's all about analysis. Yeah, with the
Oh,
2
yeah,
different rules that
definitely.
we were talking about. Somebody explain what the T is. Rule 1 on one side of the T and the fact on the other side of the T. T format normally is a versus style approach, like plaintiff versus defendant. Oh, okay. Element of the rule on one side and fact that goes to that element on the other side to help organize. Okay, I get
Yeah,
it.
that's basically what we're saying. We just didn't draw a T.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fine. That's
Yeah,
fine.
I guess
Because
that's like
you're
a
basically
visual
like
aid.
Iraq and the T is like within the Iraq or the
Yeah,
crack or whichever you're using. So
yeah,
that makes sense. That's what your actual sentence is looking like within your Iraq.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's still the same format we've been talking about. So, yeah, if you
Yeah.
draw a T, you can go.
Okay. Somebody else I think we already answered this one about is listing the questions they request us to answer is our issue. Yeah, go with what
Mm-hmm.
they tell you to answer. Okay, we talked about the party names. She did mean in MPTs, not in essays, the case names.
Girl, the
Okay.
Pearl Paradigm says, look, my computer been working this long. Okay. Yes. And if your computer not working, you better go to Best Buy.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
Now. Go to Best Buy. Because the Geek Squad is
Okay.
the truth.
Is there a standard point allotment for essays, meaning an A-worthy essay is worth how many points? It depends on the jurisdiction. Some
Yeah.
of them it's out of 6 points. A few of them are out of 10, but most of them are out of 6 points in UBE jurisdictions.
Yeah.
So 6 points would be the highest for an essay.
Yeah. Someone says, any tips for repeat bar takers? I would say I work with a lot of repeat bar takers. Most of my platform is dedicated to repeat bar takers. The biggest thing for repeat bar takers is not just practicing, but it's mindset. Because the thing is, you lose confidence, and it really hurts your self-esteem when you don't pass. So you need to take some time and deal with those feelings. Even now, don't be like, oh, the bar exam coming up. Even if it's your first time taking the bar exam, those nerves, those feelings of doubt, I'm not enough, I'm not going to be a lawyer, I keep missing this issue and I don't know why. You need to sit with those feelings, like write it down, meditate. Why do I feel this way? Okay, because a lot of times that stuff, that mental energy, that is attached to stuff that's not even related to the bar exam. You know, did you fail a exam like in kindergarten? You know what I'm saying? Things like that. And another thing is write uplifting things to yourself. Remind yourself who you are and what you've done. Like you may have failed the bar
Amen.
exam, but didn't you graduate from law school? Didn't you get into law school? How many classes did you have to take in law school to graduate? Every class is evidence that you know how to apply the law and facts, right? Every class that you pass is evidence that you know how to apply the law, right? Then you know, you did well in undergrad, you got a job. I don't care if it's you was in 3rd grade and you got the trophy for the shoe tying contest. Write down the list of all your accomplishments to remind yourself who you are. And because a lot of times with repeat bar takers, it's what's in your head that's keeping you.
Mm-hmm.
It's what's in your head and what are you telling yourself? I can't do it. I've never been a good test taker. Well, that's a lie. How many tests did you take in law school? Then you have to pass enough tests just to graduate? So that
Yeah.
can't be true. So what are the lies? What are the stories that you have in your head that is preventing you from going forward? And I would challenge everybody to do that, because that's mentally draining, and you're not going to be able to take in any information, no new law, and be able to apply the facts if you don't deal with what's going on upstairs in your mind, because your mind
Mm-hmm.
is very strong, and what you believe and what you practice is your reality. If you keep saying that I don't do well on essays, and guess what? Your essay's gonna suck. If you
Mm-hmm.
say I don't do well on the MBE, guess what? Your MBE score is gonna suck. Like, your mouth is powerful. And
Mm-hmm.
you can make yourself believe whatever that you want to believe. Like, every time you miss a MBE, or you don't spot an issue, be glad that you missed that in practice and not on the bar exam. Every missed question, every missed issue is an opportunity for you to learn. You say, well, you know what? Now I
Yes.
know it. I'm glad I got that wrong in practice, because when I see that on the bar exam, I don't know the answer.
Mm-hmm. Studying is a safe space.
Yes.
Don't be so hard on yourself whilst it is a safe space. You are
Yeah.
supposed to have things wrong so that you can
Mm-hmm.
learn from them. Also, everything that Caroline said, she was preaching, and I got some Bible verses on moving forward and
Come
not
on.
looking back. And I put those up specifically because that's what a lot of people who are retaking the bar exam are doing. They
Yeah.
reliving that, like, oh, I already failed before. What if I
That
fail again?
trauma.
So go to
Yeah.
my page. There's a like a screen. Anyway, the point is, just go to my page. You'll see it. You can also
Mm-hmm.
download it inside of my free community too. The link is in my bio. So
Mm-hmm.
go there, because that's another thing too. Like, it's all about mindset. And if you are a believer, it is
Mm-hmm.
all about standing on the word of God. Amen. Like,
Come on.
the power of life and death is in your tongue. All
Come
them
on.
Bible verses like that, you need to speak them over yourself, because most of the time it's not even about your competency.
Come on.
It's about your confidence. Like, it's like
Mm.
confidence over competency for some
Yes.
is the issue for a
Yes.
lot of you guys.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure you get on that if you know that is something that you have been struggling with. And so it looks like
Mm-hmm.
we only have like a few more minutes. Oh my goodness.
Oh,
But
we
there's
got
still a
the
couple more
2 minute
questions, Caroline.
reminder, the 2 minute remaining little reminder thingy. So we got 1 minute 52 seconds. So what else? We're gonna round it out. What else?
I see any tips for struggling with MPTs.
You want to take that one, Roberta?
Yes. Look at the practice MPTs,
Mm-hmm.
the model MPT answers, and also like work on timing and organization and figuring out how it's best for you to like look through the file, look through the
Mm-hmm.
library. It kind of depends on what your struggle is with the MPTs,
Mm-hmm.
but overall, like, MPTs are actually a blessing, because you don't even have to memorize any law. Like, they give you all the law.
Yes.
They give you all the
Mm-hmm.
cases that you need to use. They give you
Yeah.
everything you need. So, like, don't even
Mm-hmm.
look at the MPT as a challenge. Look at it as the gift on the bar
Yeah.
exam, because they literally put everything on a platter that
Mm-hmm.
you need. You just got to put it together. And sometimes that
Yeah.
might require you getting out of your own head to
Yeah.
to be
Yeah,
able to put
it's
it
a
together.
synthesis. It's a synthesis, because think about it. Even if you stick to the law plus because plus facts, what is the library? The law. What is the file? The facts. Apply the law from your library to the facts in your file. Organize it. All the stuff we was telling you. organization, grammar, analysis. Okay. All right.
Yes,
So we
yes,
got
yes,
like
yes.
33 seconds. Thank you, Roberta, for coming on and just doing this. Is so awesome. We've been wanting to work together so long, so this is awesome. And just know, everybody on here, thank you so much for joining us. We are praying for
Yes.
you. We are doing everything we can to uplift you. So we hope that this was very helpful. And I'm going to make sure this is posted on the page, just in case you came in late or you just need to review the tips. Okay. All righty.
Okay. All right, y'all go.
Bye.